Hello everybody, this is Rituparna Hazra from Parakai Technologies. Today I am going to demonstrate how to create a table in Dynamic NAV. I'll also be telling you about field properties, data types and table triggers. So, a table is where actual data is stored. A consumer table might have properties like number, name, phone number, address, etc. Field properties, field first of all has field number and name, it has data types, and the properties of the field are enable, field class, editable, field relationship, auto increment. We'll also see properties that is flow field, flow filter, calc formula, alt search, character allowed, option string. We'll also be covering the data types of the fields that are available and the table triggers, that is 4 table triggers on insert, on modify, on rename and on delete. Every field has 2 triggers of their own, on validate and on lookup. So let's continue to the demo. So this is Navision 2009. I'll be creating 3 tables for consumer data, employee data and consumer employee association data. So let's create a new table. So I'll click on tables, I'll click on new. So this is where all the fields for a particular table can be added. So the first one for a consumer table would be number and the second would be name of the consumer. So, the data type of number would I take it as integer, and the second field is name. The data type I take as text. The default given and size of text is 30, which I want to change to 50. The next is department. I'll provide department. And the data type is options, which I want to take for department. Options is basically like a drop down and provide different options which can be seen in a drop down box. And the fourth field for the consumer table is enrollment date. This is when the consumer is first enrolled. For this I'll provide the data type as date. And the last field is creation date, when the consumer is actually created. For this I'll provide as the data type as date type. So for the number, which will be my primary key for consumer table, to see the properties of this particular field, I can either click on properties or I have the shortcut key as shift F4. So there are different properties for this integer field that I have created, like minimum value, maximum value, and editable, enabled, or there is editable, and there's auto increment, yes or no. So I'll provide auto increment as yes. I'll press escape to go back to my table structure. The next is name. Similarly, I'll go to properties of the name field, which is a text. Over here, I have a field property that is character allowed, which where I can specify the type of characters that can that will be accepted in this particular field. For example, if I provide A, Z, that is character allowed field takes a range, so it will take A to Z in caps only. I want the field to accept small a and z as well, so A to Z letters as well. So I'll provide a small a to small z. If I provide 0 to 9, it will take the numbers 0 to 9 in the field. Otherwise, but as the name does not have a number in it, so I'll not provide that. So I move on to providing escape to go back to the table structure. For the third field, that is department, I open the properties. So the department is an option kind of field. So now here I see option string as one of the properties. I want to provide option strings like sales, production, provide a comma, and then I'll provide production. So similarly, the captions is also the same, and I'll provide the captions are taken as sales and production, and that is what will be shown. You can also take different. If I provide the string as S and the captions as sale, it will show an S, but in the back end the data saved will be it will show an sales, but in the back end the data saved will be for S. So similarly it can be different as well, not necessarily has to be same. So I'll provide, you can click on the next line, and that is how Navision saves the data. So I provide escape to go back to the table structure. Now the enrollment date is editable. I want it to be manually put in, so I'll not provide any editable fields. But on the other hand, creation date is when the system date should be inputted on this particular field, so I'll provide this editable field as no. I do not want this particular field to be edited. When I click on the last line and see the properties, this is where the properties of the table is seen, where there are different properties like lookup form ID, drill down form ID. This is when a form is created for this particular table, I can provide the IDs for that. And if I press F9, you can see F9 will provide me the cal code for this particular table. I have 4 triggers for this particular table, that is on insert, on modify, on delete, on rename, which is called on insert is called, as the name suggests, when a record is inserted into the table. I'll provide a message for that. And I'll provide similar messages. I'm sorry. And I'll copy this particular message, which will be a dialog box. I'll provide similar messages for on modify, on delete, and on rename. On rename is called when the primary key of the table is renamed. So that is when this particular trigger is called. So, and as you see, every field, that is number, name, department, enrollment date, and creation date, that is all the fields of my particular consumer table, has their own 2 triggers, that is on validate and on lookup. Over here I can provide validations for the data that is being entered into the that particular field. So this is how we can use the field triggers. I provide escape, and now I save this table to the table ID, table space that is available. I have 50006 available with me, so, and I save this as consumer data. So I escape. This is my consumer data table. I run this. This is the table structure, and this is how my record will look. So as I have provided, this is back to my table structure. As my number property has auto incremented, yes, automatically it will increment to the next number whenever I insert a new record. So I run my table again. I can either do it by clicking on run or by a shortcut key, that is Alt R. So I run my table, I provide a name, I give this particular consumer a sales department, and then the enrollment date as, say, now what will happen is I will not be able to insert any particular data in this, but I want the current date time to be saved in this particular field. And when I click on the next line, it gives me an insert trigger that is inserted successfully. That means my table trigger of on insert is called and the message inserted successfully is shown. So I press escape. I'll go back to the design of my consumer table by clicking either design button on the right hand side down corner, or I can use the shortcut key Alt D. So when I go to the cal code of my table and provide an on insert, I code on the on insert trigger, which is I want F5 to see all the details of the symbols and menus and records that is available for my table. So for my particular record, I have field name that is creation date. So while double clicking, I have creation date, which needs to be assigned the current date time, So when a new table, when a new record is inserted, it will come to this line, and the current date time, which is a inbuilt function, will provide the current date time, will insert a current date time in creation date. So I save my details back and I run my table again. So let's input another name. I provide this particular consumer to production and take the same date for enrollment. Now you see the particular current date time has been inserted in that particular field, that is creation date field, and inserted successfully message is called. So this is how my consumer table, in the consumer table we see auto increment data and option data type and text data type and various others. I'll create a new table for employee details, similarly like consumer number. So that will be, the first field is number, which is integer. The properties of that field is auto increment. Auto increment, yes. I press escape to go back to the table design. And the second field is name of the employee, that is text. It provides me a 30 size by default, I change it to 50. And the third field is salary. Here I take it as decimal. Decimal is where 0.00 data will be shown to me. So I take, and for salary field, I go to the property and I want to provide a minimum salary of rupees 100 and a maximum salary of 10,000. Let's see if this particular validation is called while I'm entering the details for employee table. So I go back, provide escape to go back to the table design, and my fourth field for the employee table is active. Over here, active is to show if the employee is active right now or not. For that, I'll take a boolean data type which has a yes or no or a true or false property. So, and the fifth field is count. Over here I want to show in this particular field I'll have the count of how many employees, how many consumers this particular employee is associated with. So this will be integer. I'll come back to this count field again later. For now I'm saving my table, that is I'll provide an employee ID, table ID, whichever is available in my table space. That would be employee data. escape and I'll run my table. So this is how it will look. So let's see, I'll provide a name, provide a salary of more than 10,000, and see, my validation for maximum permitted value of 10,000 is called. So I'll provide a salary of less than 10,000 and see. Again, my validation of minimum value is called. So it shows me the minimum value is can be provided as 100. So I'll go back and provide 100. He is an active employee. So I click on this, and for now I'll leave the count data aside. So this is how I can insert employee details. I press escape and I want to create a new table right now, which will have the association for the consumers and the employee. So I create a new table which will have the first field as association number, integer, and I'll provide the property of auto increment as true. And then I want the consumer number to be picked up from the consumer table. So I'll provide consumer number over here, which is integer, and employee number over here as my third field for employee association, consumer employee association table. I'll go to the properties of consumer number, and here is what I see as table relationship. So I'll provide the table ID, that is by clicking on F6 or assist button, I can provide the table with which I want the relationship for this particular field, or I can just provide the table ID. My consumer table ID is 50006, so I just provide it and provide tab. So it will provide me the name of my table. I can also provide different fields with which it is related. So my consumer data number is related with the consumer number in this particular table. So I can also provide filters which will have different filters as if number, I can have a constant filter which can be a hard coded details like 10, or it can be filtered with any different field, and the field value can be provided, but I do not want to do that right now, so I'll escape this. I'll press OK. So now my table relationship is with consumer data table and the field number in that particular table. So similarly, I'll provide table relationship with employee table, so I want to save my table and provide the table ID. So this is my consumer employee association table. I run this particular table. Now I see there's a lookup button over here. But when I click on this, it does not provide me the details of the consumer table. Similarly, on employee number, it does not provide me the details of the employee table. So I press escape. I have to create two forms, that is a form for consumer table and a form for employee table respectively, so that it can be linked in the table data in the consumer and employee table, and I'll be able to see those table data. So I'll create a new form. I'll click on forms and create a new form. I'll provide the table ID, and I'll use a form wizard, and I'll have a tabular type. So I go there. I select all the fields. You can leave out some if you want, but I'll select all the fields, and let's see the preview. This is how my table on when I click on the lookup button will look like. All the details of consumer table will be seen in a tabular form. So I press escape and I finish. So I want to save my particular form. I want to see which ID is available. So my last ID is 5005. I'll provide the next ID. So I'll save this. I run my form. This is how the data of the consumer table is reflected in this particular form. Similarly, I create a new form for employee. So my employee form is also created. I run this particular form and see the employee table, employee details in this particular form. So now I want this form to be linked, employee and consumer form to be linked to the respective tables. So I go to employee, let's say consumer data table. I go to its design and click on the last line, that is last line of the fields, and then I provide see the properties of my table. So here is a lookup form ID. I want, on the clicking of the lookup button, I want that form to show. So I provide my form ID over here. And I press escape. I save my table again. Let's run consumer employee association table and see if it works. Now when I click on the edit button, now when I click on the assist or the lookup button, I see the consumer details, which is from the consumer form. So which is from the consumer form. So I press OK. So now the number is 1, for which I want to associate the other details. So I'll go back to escape and link the employee data table similarly to the employee form. Let's run consumer employee table and see this association number is 0 right now. I want to associate Sumit with the employee Jason, as well as I want to associate Ravi with the employee Jason. So my one employee is associated to 2 consumers. I press escape. I'll go back to my employee data. Here for the count field, I want to see its property. So that is Shift F4. The count field has a field class which is normal. I'll show you what happens when I select as flow field. Flow field is when it is used for automatic calculation of details from another table. So when I click flow field, when it is a normal field, I have other properties. When I click flow field, a new property for this particular field is shown, that is calc formula. This field, let's click on assist. This field has a lot of functions, that is inbuilt function, that is sum, average, exist, count, and these particular functions you can use them and try it out. So I'll go into count. I'll count all the particular consumers, that are number of consumers that are associated with this particular employee. So I'll go to the table. The table will be consumer employee association table, and the field is consumer number. Let's say, employee number, and the field is employee number should be equal to the field of my particular employee table which property has number. So this shows that the employee number field of the consumer association employee association table should be equal to the field that is number of my employee data. So this is, I'm sorry, I'll redo this again. I'll click on OK. So here we can see is consumer employee association table has field employee number which has the table filter as employee number is equal to field number. Say OK to that. I'll click on the next line and escape. I'll save my table edited details and let's run employee table. So now I see that Jason is associated with 2 consumers. So the count is automatically counted by using flow field. Similarly, I can also use flow field to count the average or the total salary. Similar things can be used by all the functions that is provided in flow field calc formula property. So this is how all the properties of the table are seen as well as the field properties are seen. For more detail, thank you for watching this video, and for more details you can visit www.paraguide.com. Thank you.